Okay, let's go.
It's time for Be Picked. When you're ready to move from clicks to clients, learn to be picked.
Welcome to another episode of BePicked.com. I am your host, Andrew Kolsky. BePicked.com is where we talk about professional service providers and how they can get themselves out on the web and build their credibility so that not only are they found, but they are the ones to be picked by their clients. Today, we are talking with Eddie Hill, and Eddie is the owner and founder of Prosperous Internet Marketing, and he's got a website, prosperousattorney.com, where you can see all about him. So, Eddie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we really want to learn from you today. And as an internet marketer, you know, that's such a broad term. There's so many things going on these days on the internet with AI and SEO search and all these things. So where to start is a great question. And maybe I'll do it this way. Since one of the markets you work with is attorneys, we have a lot of small firm attorneys or solo practitioner attorneys who have spent a lot of time in law school, a lot of time studying for and passing the bar exam, and they spend a lot of time in court or doing their legal work. And they don't have a whole lot of time to focus on learning all about internet marketing and all these things. So starting off from the beginning, what are some major concepts that you think that attorneys should know about when it comes to thinking about a marketing plan?
Excellent. And I've worked with hundreds of attorneys over the years, and I still have dozens of them as clients currently. So this is a very apropos question to me. And we think about this all the time with the changing times, but still the fundamentals don't change. It didn't change in football. It doesn't change in pickleball. Like the fundamentals are the fundamentals. And that will always be true with marketing or business in general, I think. So I would stick with that. So fundamentals, meaning you need to have a good online representation of what you do, how you do it, where you do it, who you do it with. So part of that is a website, but I would argue, that's easy. You can get AI to build a website nowadays. But we'll talk about that here in a second. And it still needs to be great. And it needs to, answer those questions: who, what, when, where, why, and why pick you versus doing nothing at all or pick somebody else. But my favorite part to work on, and the easiest part, is the Google Business Profile, because hands down, it's still going to be the single source that brings you in the most leads. Let me give you a little inside thing here, Andrew. I own a call tracking company as well. So we track tens of thousands of calls a month, a lot of them from attorneys, some from, plumbers and HVAC or whatever. We have hundreds and hundreds of clients on there, and we get to see these patterns. And we're tracking social media, we're tracking pay-per-click, we're tracking SEO, we're tracking AEO, which is answer engine optimization from the like ChatGPT or Gemini. We're also tracking, of course, Google My Business or Google Places, or there's 9 names that used to be, but Google Business Profile calls. And since we have these dynamic call tracking numbers installed, we know definitively where these calls are coming from, where they originate from. Hands down, majority of the time, it's going to come from your Google Business Profile. So I think that's a great place to start for most, whether you're a solopreneur, or you have, 10 lawyers working for you, or you're in 15 states, like some of these guys, and have 15 different offices. So I would start with your Google Business Profile.
That's an excellent point. And the great thing about that is it's free. Anybody can go and set up a Google Business Profile, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort, but it takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah.
But then, okay, so somebody goes and they set up a business Google profile and they think, great, I'm set. I can put it to bed and go back to business now, right?
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. You build it, they come, they say. Well, it hasn't been that way in a long time. When you hung your shingle or whatever, I was born, I'm old. I was born in the 1900s. And, there was a time when lawyers could literally, they were kind of broad, and they could open their doors and they would get plenty of referrals to take care of it. Well, now there's so many niche lawyers and everybody's kind of niching down to certain categories of the law, and they are getting some referrals, but competition's through the roof. So you need to do something a little different than just, Google Business Profile and a website and a business card and a firm handshake. And some of it is going to be, shaking bushes, one way or another. I believe in all forms of marketing, whether it's urinal signs or, or showing up to the chamber, which I still believe in, direct mail. Of course, radio, we do it all. But there's lots of things to do it, but you have to do something, and to move things forward. And in the beginning, you're going to have not going to have much budget for it, so you need to be wise. So I guess my advice on that is make sure you're tracking it. Come back to that call tracking, to see what is getting a return on investment. It's easy to spend $1 and make 80 cents. But if you're tracking it, it's also easy to spend $1 to make $10 or $20. So,
Right.
as far as any marketing goes, I would be tracking it, and then that way, that's how you scale. So let me give you a quick formula. I wrote a book called the Prosper Formula,
Oh,
and
excellent.
in that is a quick. This is very elementary, but everybody will get once I say it. There's only two numbers you need to know to scale your practice or any business for that matter. The first number you need to know is your cost per acquisition. How much does it cost you to acquire a customer? Now, it's hard to judge that when you're getting a referral fee and it's free referrals. Well, that's not very consistent. And it's hard to, hard to quantify. But let's say you are doing pay per click, or you are doing social media ads, or you're doing direct mail or whatever. So you can definitively figure out what is my cost per acquisition. So that's the first number.
Hmm.
Second number is your lifetime value of your customer. So, or client in this case. So as a client, so if your average client is $5,000, but it costs you $1,000 to acquire them, that's 1 to 5. So if you go to the stock market and you put in $1,000 and you got $5,000 back a month later, not a year later, that's a good stock. You would invest in that. However, you could also invest $1,000 and get $900 back, which
Right.
happens. And it happens in stock market. It happens in marketing too. But anyway, if you know those two things, and hopefully that your cost per acquisition is much lower than your lifetime value of your customer, that's how you scale.
Hmm.
We can, that math is easily resolved in all forms of marketing. In 1922, there's a guy named John. He was in New York. He owned 12 retail stores. In fact, he invented the price tag. Before that, it was kind of haggling, but he
Hmm.
put price tags on things. 1922, think about what was going on back then. He ended up selling when he died. They sold all of his stores to Macy's. They're all in Macy's now, but the 12 stores that he had were expanding, and he was a marketing genius. But he said these words, Andrew, and you may have heard this before. He's the one that said this. I just don't know which 50%. And it's true. We know that, like, we like, yeah, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Well, in 1922, it doesn't make any sense today. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we can track everything pretty definitively. Now it's hard. Some things are a little harder, but with dynamic tracking and the AI, the way we can see conversion tracking with pay per click or even social media conversion tracking, all these pieces of code, we can follow them cradle to grave where their leads originates. A little harder with referrals, like I was saying. So there's a couple things that's a little harder, but in general, we can track it. So we can see the cost per acquisition, and then we can also, after we help them and they pay us, we can see how much they made off of them, lifetime value of that customer.
Right.
And guess what? It's something that you can scale if those numbers work. Again, the cost per acquisition has to be lower than the lifetime value of the customer. So,
Right. Right. But there's one piece in there though that I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about, which is, it's one thing that, okay, I put out, let's say a Google ad, and I can see how many people click it, and because it's going to come out of my pocket every time they do.
yeah,
Um, but I don't know, or maybe I do, and this is where I'm asking you to expand. Let's say I get 10 people to click it, but I actually get one customer that calls me. How do I know which person who clicked called? And how do I know what caused them to call versus just click and then go somewhere else?
yeah. Well, two questions there. So I got to take them separately. The first one, obviously, cost per click is, pay per click is where it kind of founded, really kind of old school in the last 3, 4, 5 years. We're more worried about conversions. And so in the days of AI, which we are heavily in, and you probably know this, Google was one of the first patents of AI, which true artificial intelligence, way a long time ago, 2012. But then in 18, they actually had true AI where it was machine learning. It was learning. AI's pay per click is where that came from. Now all these other ones are coming along too, and they might have surpassed some of the Google stuff. But so let's talk real quick on the AI. When I was first starting doing pay per click, even back in 2009, 2010, that's that's right when Al Gore invented the internet. That was a long time ago. Anyway, the pay per click it was I had to manipulate everything. I did all the bids. I was watching it, but today as a pay per click, certified pay per click expert, I can't manipulate a lot of that anymore. What I'm doing though is I'm telling Google what is a conversion, what is not. So a click is not a conversion, just like you said. I don't care about a click. I don't get excited about impressions. Impressions don't impress me. I don't care about
Right.
clicks. I care about a phone call that leads to an appointment. Then it's kind of a I catch 'em, you skin 'em day. If you get the appointment, then I'm done. Like I'm handing it off to you. You better close them. You do whatever with them. So, but I am tracking to the appointment point, to the appointment. So really a conversion is an appointment, not a click and not even a phone call because some phone calls are just wasted time. So we're telling Google that this was a conversion, this wasn't. And that comes down to tracking. So I hope I answered the first part of the question because it is important that we see true conversions. Now, a conversion is going to be much higher than a click, right? Click could be
Right.
$10. Some markets could be $100, but a conversion may be $1,000, right? To
Hmm.
convert to an actual appointment, from there. The second part of that, once they, why would they pick you? So they are searching. I need me to be clear. So you'll get some clicks. They'll come to your website. They will look around, and this is important. This is part of not just building a website. It has to be something that they get their questions answered, and then once they do that, they will bounce. Like we know that over 70% of the people will bounce and look at a second or third website. So competitors, right? So if
Right.
you're a bankruptcy attorney or if you're a, whatever criminal attorney or even, a personal injury attorney, they're going to go look at two or three. Ones they pick, now this is psychology, is going to be the ones they feel they know, like, and trust, right? That's my whole theme. And the way you do that is called digital charisma. That's a whole chapter in my book. In fact, my editor I'm writing a second book on that called Digital Charisma. It's very important. It's getting people to settle down to know, like, and trust you through your digital assets, not just your website, but all your assets, including reviews and all that. And they feel comfortable to call you versus somebody else. So you may get the click, they may come to your website, but then you lose the breadcrumbs because then they bounced went to somebody else. So the second part of your question is very important as well. Yeah, you can pay to get people traffic to your website all day long, but that I'm not considering that necessarily a conversion.
Right.
So we track conversions, not just clicks.
Right. So
Yeah,
there's sort of, the little golden nugget that you just said there, which is when they come to your website, they need to be able to feel comfortable with your credibility and your knowledge, and you got to be answering the questions they have because
yeah,
that's why they're looking for you.
yep,
And, that takes additional type of work. And I want to throw in one other piece here too, which is, there's one thing about getting referrals and getting people coming to your website and these types of things, but those are things that you don't personally own. You don't own a referral. Someone can refer someone to you and then tomorrow not refer people to you.
right,
There's a lot of things that you can do from a marketing perspective that are helpful and important, but you don't own them from the prosperous side, and this is where I'm curious for your feedback on this. From the prosperous side, if you own the asset, meaning you wrote the article, you put up the video, personally answered the question, now you own the content, you own the material forever, evergreen. It's not just, a quick referral from someone. How important is that ownership for a marketing and building of a
I think it's critical, and I think I know where you're going with this, Andrew, and I appreciate it. And we call them assets. Yeah. So, we build lots of assets, somewhere between 10 and 20 assets a month for our clients, because they don't have the time and energy to do it. Some of it. But now I would prefer them being on video themselves answering the questions, but sometimes that's not available. Or we can video them and do like 30 questions at once, and then release 2 or 3 a month, and that lasts us a while. But there's other assets. It doesn't have to be video. It could be, like you said, a blog or article or other forms of assets. We have 11 ways that we do this to build credibility. for human beings, which we like them, but it does the same thing with Google bots, right? And answer engines. So they're looking for these assets as well, and you have to give them that. You have to feed them that content so they know to point to you that you answered this question. So I mean, these people have this question. Hey, this guy here knows he's answering the question, and it sounds great. So they're sending them to you. And then when they actually get there, then you answer the question, they solve it, they feel like they know, like, and trust you enough to make a phone call, at least schedule an appointment. But so assets are critically important. I wouldn't get too caught up. Some people are afraid to be on camera, and some people, are not great writers or whatever, and that's okay. But there's other formats that you're probably really good at, and it's just a matter of taking it and disseminating it. So part of it as an agency, and of course you can do all this on yourself, but we're really good at gathering it, making it pretty, putting a bow on it, and then disseminating, meaning putting it out there in a bunch of different places because we
Hmm.
want people to find it. So it's not just going to be YouTube; it's going to be YouTube, Dailymotion, Vimeo, like 5 different places,
Hmm.
and that helps with, of course, with human beings and Google bots alone. But yeah, assets are critical. And I know the time thing's gonna come up though, just so you know, Andrea. Every time we say, "Yeah, you need to build more assets," especially if you're a solopreneur, I'm busy. I can't, I don't have time for that.
Right.
So part of it, you can pay somebody else. Some of it can be done with AI. Now, there's a lot of caveats on that. AI is not that great yet for some of that. And it's obviously, people can see it and tell it. But there's other ways too. And it doesn't have to be a lot. 1 or 2 a month is better. I have a philosophy, Andrew, and I got to tell you this in marketing and pretty much in life.
Hmm.
Here's my philosophy. Some is better than none. And I have a bunch of accounting firms too, and they say mathematically that is true. Some is better than none. So I think it's great. Now my wife hates that statement, and the reason why, because I do some of the dishes some of the time, right? So she's like, yeah, like all, yeah. So all is better than some. Her math is better. Yeah, all is better than some. That's math. Yes, if you could do all these things and assets and get them done, that is better than some. But really, in general, if I'm giving advice to a small entrepreneur, small business owner, or even a solo practitioner, I'm going to tell them to do some of this stuff because it is better than none. And
Right.
what's going to happen is they're going to see some results. I call it the upward spiral. And they're like, wow, that actually worked. Somebody saw this. They called me. I got an appointment. So they'll do a little bit more and be inspired to do some of this. The problem is when you do none. So an object at rest stays at rest, and that's a problem. Online, everything is inertia, and the only way to build authority is through building it consistently. Doesn't have to be a lot. 1 or 2 pieces a month would be plenty,
Right.
because more than likely your competitors are not doing any, right? So some is better than none.
Yeah. So that leads perfectly into the next question, though, which is if some is better than none, and I'm a solo practitioner or I'm a small firm, and again, I don't have a whole lot of time. And I know there's like, think about social media. You've got um, Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook, and
Yeah.
we could go on and on Reddit. I mean, we could spend the whole hour listing stuff. How the heck do I know which sum to pick?
Yeah. Well, so I'm a big believer in automation and software, and so I think it's nowadays there's no reason to post it, any of the, all those. You literally upload it to the software. I have software. There's probably 30 of them I can recommend. We built software. You upload it once, it will disseminate it to all those platforms that you want. You just pick the platform and it pushes it out there. So there's no reason to go in and log into each account on there. At the very minimum, even Meta owns obviously Instagram and Facebook. You can go upload it to Meta, Instagram, and then say also upload this to Facebook at the same time. Look at that. You did double you did double the process for the same amount of effort. So at the very, again, some's better than none. I'm not going to tell you to go do them all. There's some things that are better than others that we like. So I think whatever you do, you need to stick to it though, and be consistent with it. So if you like the TikTok thing, great, but that can be automated too. So we love pre-scheduling things. In fact, you should. And so whether it's you or your cousin or your niece, somebody, like we're pretty sure that July 4th is going to happen around the 4th of July. You probably should have a post, a social media post about say, Happy 4th of July or
Hmm.
Christmas or Easter. And so, or St. Patrick's Day's coming up. So that can be scheduled in advance. And guess what? There's one or two, major holidays a month, and a couple little ones like National Bacon Day is September 12th, my favorite day. But so you gotta, you gotta have, you can have these posts pre-schedules for the whole darn year. And take 2 hours, design 25 posts or have AI designer, whatever. And then you put them in the scheduler and schedule them out. And guess what? You're done. And everybody sees your post and they're like, oh, he's post, happy, St. Patrick's Day. And you'll have a little thing. It could have you with your Irish, whatever, green beer if you want. And then people can see that you did this. You don't need to be doing this every single week. In fact, I recommend you don't, but you can pre-schedule a lot of this stuff. And then when things happen at the time, then you'll fill in with cool things. Hey, here's a client, me and a client, or here's me and a local celebrity, and then we're going to post that as it comes. So as far as social media goes, there's definitely a way to automate it and simplify it,
Right.
uh, if you don't have time.
So, so from that perspective, um, that brings me to one of my favorite sayings, which is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And here's what I mean by that in this case. I understand, yeah, we have like social media aggregators where, like you said, you post once, but it goes everywhere and all this stuff. But and this might be my own personal bias. If I think of hiring an attorney for a very serious matter that I have. I really want someone who's going to know their work and be able to translate it to me in a way that I can understand and feel comfortable that this person has my back and they're going to do what I need them to do. And personally, if I saw that person on TikTok doing a funny little dance to get attention, they're not getting my business.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
so I personally, and I could be wrong, I think of TikTok as, oh, look at the funny little dance that this person did. They have no credibility, but it was fun to watch. Versus maybe a YouTube video where they're explaining my situation and telling me, hey, watch out for this landmine that people run into, and here's how to avoid it. What would be the first places that you would tell your attorney clients to focus on, and maybe what to avoid, if any?
Yeah, so we call it avatar, and you need to probably hang out where your avatar hangs out. So if it's not TikTok, like you're saying, then stay away from it. However, full disclosure. There's plenty of clients on TikTok, and by the way, I know it sounds like you haven't been on TikTok in a while. They don't dance anymore. It's like you can do whatever, but yeah, it originally started with all that. But TikTok is a super powerful way. It's highly organic, meaning the algorithm is very powerful on what people are watching. So there is a niche there, and I know some personal injury attorneys doing very, very well just with TikTok. So I
Mm,
don't want to take
okay.
it away, because if that's your avatar, that's who you're going after. You'll get it. You'll relate with them. However, I
Hmm.
agree with you. Most of the time, YouTube would be a better format. YouTube and what's called Reels and Shorts, and so the short format is very powerful. Similar to TikTok, it's a short format where people would scroll through and see, but you can be a lot more professional on it. I'd just be careful. Now, I think personality sells. And if you're funny, clever, weird, whatever, and you stand out. Now, if you're a dislikable guy or gal, then don't do this. But if you're likable enough and you're clever, you have clever ways of saying things, or your clever ways of doing things, then I would stand out in whatever market you're doing it. The format can be argued, but in general, you'll see that if you know who your avatar is and where they hang out, then okay, so that's where you're gonna appeal to. So yes, more professional on YouTube, maybe a little less on the reels and shorts. You can get away with a little different things, but so each one is kind of you have to look at it on its own. But I get it comes back to more of like, are you helping people? So if people do business with people they know I can help or know I can trust, and are you actually giving helpful content? So if you're just dancing like Sid or whatever, you're the dancing bear, that doesn't do anybody good. They're like, yeah, 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 whatever. But if you have helpful stuff, uh, now you got my attention.
Right.
Now the way you go about it could be a bunch of different ways. So
Right. That's true. That's true. So then let me ask this part. One of the things that, and you even have a section about this on your own website, concept of reputation and reputation management. So what does that mean, and how does somebody ensure that they do it correctly?
Yeah, so we call it reputation marketing, not just management. And
Okay.
in the sense of I think it's a big portion of business. It has been for 100 years, but I also think it's a big portion of business for AI. It's a big portion of business for Google bots. A big portion of business for human beings. We like all three of those. And so if every one of them, the reason why AI and Google bots treat reputation or reviews, let's just start with that. There's more forms of reputation, but reviews is because it's a third party opinion. It's not me saying how great I am. It's a third party opinion. So they trust Google bots, trust that, and AI trust that more than my opinion. So, okay, so Google bots go to my page. I say how great I am. This is all the cool stuff is. And they're like, yeah, they give me some credit for that. But they'll actually, on the reviews, if they say, hey, this guy is fantastic, personal injury, he took my case, or he did a dog bite case. And so now those keywords are there. And so AI is paying attention to the keywords in the reviews. So that's why it's more critical than ever. The answer engines. So, and that I just did a class on this in Vegas last week. And like I've studied it more and more, but it is more prevalent than ever. And we believe it's over 30% of the citations that answer engines are using now are from reputation, from reviews. And it's in the words in the reviews. They'll quote exactly in the review what's going on. So it's always been important, though. We've been doing reputation marketing for over 15 years.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is we want to build a 5-star reputation on purpose. We want to grow it and make sure people talk to us that's authentic and real, but also we want to market it, like, show people like how great we are. The problem is with small businesses or even small firms or solopreneurs is people do business with people they know I can trust, but us as small business owners really suck. And I mean this in the nicest possible way at bragging about ourselves. We don't want to do that, but we're not big enough to hire a public relations firm. So these big firms, Morgan Morgan, I guarantee you, they spend 50 million a year just on public relations. That's not marketing. It's a different category. So, but as a small business, we don't do any public relations. Well, we should. And part of public relations is kind of showing our reputation, our reviews, and those kind of things, and cool things that we do in the community. So it all ties together. And if that's true, which it is, then we need to do our own public relations. And
Right.
in other words, we need to kind of put it out there. Of course, on your website, you should have your reviews down there, but there's lots of other formats that we should be pulling these reviews from and sending them out. But yeah, and people, oh, it's vanity. I don't want to talk about how great we are. I'm like, well, people want to know. And so do AI bots. And so does, unfortunately, you don't want to do it, but we need to. We're being forced to because it's 30 some percent or more of the reason why we rank. And the reason why somebody picks a firm is because of that reputation. So I think it's
Right.
important.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm 100% on board with you on that one, and I would ask the listeners, if you're thinking about this as a listener, think about your own behaviors. If you go to pick a hotel room, or if you go to purchase a product online, or
Hmm.
if you're going to go to a new service provider, maybe you're going to get your hair cut, or maybe you're going to I don't know, find a doctor to do something,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, Most people today, and I don't know the numbers, maybe you do, Eddie. Most people today look at the online review first. Are you really going to call that plumber who's got a 1 star and a bunch of people complaining that, they got overcharged and they didn't get their problem fixed? Or are you going for the 4.5 to 5 star guy who's got glowing reviews? I know who I'm picking. Yes, I'm going to read the reviews. Yes, I'm going to be careful to make sure that they don't sound like it was all of his family members that
Right.
created the reviews for him. But
Right.
if they've got, 2,500 reviews, probably not all family members. But do you have any numbers or data for us on that?
Yes. I mean, I'm old school. I joined this when Yelp was the biggest review platform. Facebook came on strong, and then Google said, "Whoa, they were way beyond the time." So back in 2005, 2006, Google really hit hard with the reviews. They knew they want to take over the platform. I serve on the board of the Better Business Bureau on the Northwest Florida side, but I look at it nationwide. They're late to the game, but they were supposed to be the review or reputation platform. So I'm very invested in this. And so now BBB is number 2, by the way, behind Google, and it's growing. They're way behind the times. Yelp was still powerful. I have a love-hate relationship with Yelp. But anyway, so I come from the beginning of this, and because we saw this happening and people wanted to see reviews. But let me tell you, the biggest one that trained us, and you mentioned it, is Amazon. Amazon trained us to look at these reviews, and here's what we do, and you probably can relate with this as well. We open the reviews, we sort by the bad reviews, and we look at the bad ones. So if there's 500 reviews, I want to see the 10 bad ones. What are people saying, and I can accept it. So here's the inside secret of that, or I don't know if it's a secret. People are doing that as well on your Google business profile, and they're doing it on the BBB. They're doing it on Yelp. They're going to sort, look at the bad reviews, and they want to see why the bad reviews are there. Now, we're all human and we make mistakes. They want to see how you handled it. So in the case of attorney, yeah, they charged me $5,000, whatever. It's usually going to be like we respond to all of our clients' reviews. We help them. And most of the time it's going to be price. Very rarely is it going to be weird unless something weird happened. But we're gonna take the high road. We're not going to argue online. That's the worst thing to do. But we're also going to say how we handle it. That's why we gave you your money back, or that's why we solved this and did this. And so the person, it's not for the person leaving the review 6 months down the road. It's for the person reading those reviews. If they sorted by the bad ones, they're reading your response and how you handled it. So it's critical that you respond to every single review. And I mean, every single review. And you need to give like the high road. Again, you're not arguing about how your integrity is there, that we take pride and have great customer service. And that's why you can see from all of our reviews. In this case, we fell short. That's why we gave you money back. Truly sorry that we didn't follow through, whatever it is. And so if somebody sees that and that you handled it well, they know you're not perfect, but you handled the situation, then they're good with that. So yes, I 1000% agree that, reviews are being looked at and they're sorted, and people are picking businesses because of that, for sure. And,
Right.
when given a tie, reviews will break that tie for sure.
Right, right. Well, this has been some really important information to kind of help to sift through all of the huge world of marketing and advertising and reputation and all that. You can go down a rabbit hole and never come out the other side when it comes to all this.
Agreed.
So unfortunately, we are out of time. We could go for another couple hours on this, no doubt.
Yeah.
Let me have you share your website address again in case people wanted to get in touch with you.
Yeah. If you're an attorney, just go to prosperousattorney.com. We work with all kinds of businesses, but we love attorneys. We have prosperouscpa.com, prosperouscontractor.com. So we do have several niches that we're going after heavily, or prosperousim as in internetmarketing.com. But I also, the book that I wrote is called Prosper Formula, and that might be, there's a ton of free stuff on there for marketing. There's also tests you can take to help and see where you're at. It's called prosperformula.com. I know I just threw out like 5 websites. So I don't care. If you want to get a hold of me personally, my name is Eddie Hill with a Y, EDDY. So eddiehill.com. And I have all my information there for you. And I'd love to talk to you. I'll help you any way I can. I do free, speaking of assets, I do free trainings like twice a month, webinars, but also I do them for specific niches, but I also do them for, so I have lots of training. Every month I'll do a webinar for lawyers and do a webinar for CPAs about these specific topics. And I get a lot more in depth, and I'm very tactical. I'm not we'll talk strategy, but I'm going to give you tactics. Do this, do this, do this. The last one I just did was for the Google business profile. That was why it was on my mind. The one I did in Vegas was AEO, which is answer engine optimization. Gave it very tactical of how to get ranked in the answer engines. And if you do it, it'll work.
Fantastic. Wow. All right. Well, there's so much here. Maybe we can have you back on another show because like I said, the topics are endless, and certainly your knowledge seems to be endless as well. So I really appreciate that.
Well, don't ask me about accounting because I don't know anything about that. But yeah, so
I hear you. Well, so for those of you who are listening, thank you for joining us on bpick.com. We try to bring you experts like Eddie who can really help shine the light on some of the things that you need to be thinking about and doing if you want to build your business or grow your business. So be sure to check us out. We have lots of other episodes and lots of other information available to you. We'll see you on our next episode of bpicked.com.
Thanks, Andrew.
If you are enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you.